Steve Dotto here. Glad you could join us today. We've got a real treat. I had an opportunity last week to receive a demo from the folks at 10,000 Feet. Now, 10,000 Feet is visual project management software. It's all about resource allocation. It's all about managing your human resources, your people, getting them knowing exactly what they're working on, having a visual representation of how much work is to be done on a project. You can see what assets are being assigned to it. It gives you a really different take on the entire project management space. Now, these folks have only been around for a year. It's a Web 2.0 company. It's a cloud-based company. They've already got a very impressive set of clients. And I think if you stick around for a few minutes and watch the demo, you'll see why they are doing so well. They've got a really interesting take on project management and managing the people. And the cool thing is, because they've got a real social media spin on the entire project management idea, it's very empowering for all of the people in the process. Managers can see exactly what resources they have and what all of the people on their team are doing, but team members can see just how they fit in the picture as well. I think that is one of the things that is really appealing to companies as they evaluate and engage this particular piece of software. So we did a recording last week of a demonstration. We had 3 people from 10,000 Feet. We had Maria Sarramito, we had Adriana Gill, and we had Prins online with us. The screens you're going to be seeing are being sent to me over the internet from them. We recorded the Skype recording. The quality's pretty good, but the content spectacular. I think you'll really enjoy this look at 10,000 Feet.
And I think one of the key things to note about 10,000 Feet, just because you highlighted the fact that, yes, we are in this very crowded project management space. And project management is one of those words that it's kind of like, what the heck does that mean?
Yes.
So we see our tool filling this niche and this need that is one step higher than most project management tools. So a lot of tools are for people who need day-to-day kind of project content management. Those are things like calendars or document sharing or client communications. All of those things are really important, but there also is a little bit level higher than that that looks at things like, you know, when can we start a new project? Which projects are people working on? Who's available if you need to pull someone in last minute? And often these activities are managed by 1 or 2 people with a spreadsheet. And it's a huge pain in the ass because it's one of those, like, it's very static. Only one person has the information. Our goal with 10,000 Feet is to distribute that information to become more transparent. And we believe that it helps people feel connected to the process and to their work when they understand how they relate to the whole. So so
philosophically, are you guys then, instead of your project being managed by the tasks, you're managed by the assets, by the people?
Yeah,
you're looking at them as the resource.
Yeah, but the people, and I mean, if you think about, you know, you're a very creative person because you're in the
I have to be because I'm in media. Yeah.
What you do is very creative. So think about how do you probably attack most of your project? You know the end, and because when you have innovation, you don't necessarily know exactly step by step that needs to happen. That usually happens when you have a repetitive process, right? Like in manufacturing or when you're doing something the same. But when you're in the innovation space, when you're trying to create something new, we often don't know how we get to the end. But we do know the end, and we have some constraints, like you know how long you have, you know how much budget you have, you may know how many people you need. So you know certain constraints, but you don't know the details. And the point, like particularly when we want to facilitate innovation, our philosophy is you need to give enough constraints so that people are effective, and you need to provide accountability, but you don't have to manage the details. That you need to let people be autonomous and give them space to be able to figure out how to get there.
Okay.
So that's a very different, you know, like, again, Asana, it's a good example, or many project management tools are very focused, like, exactly like you said, they're very focused on the step, you know, you do step 1, 2, 3, and that usually comes from a project manager or somebody sort of top down that is dictating what those steps are.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would, to answer your question philosophically, It's less about tasks. People might still use those task management tools, but from a project planning perspective, it's more about empowering people to have control over their own time, and then giving them the autonomy to do it in their own way.
Okay.
So, and it's just what we've seen, best supports kind of creative outcomes.
I hear you.
Okay. So, taking a look at this first page that I have to show you, this is essentially my portfolio page, and I can click on any one of these images to start to understand, who's working on a project. And a project can be anything from something that is internal for a company. It could be something like planning a party or an event. Whatever it is, a project is, you'll have the plan for the project is accessible here. So I'm going to click into one of these images and take a look at this Project Orange. And now I can see here who are my team members. You'll also note that this project goes from April 1st until August 22nd. And I have a status over here. And the status is really important because it's giving me, as a project manager or a team member or an executive for a company, a real-time look at the project progress. So unlike other tools that have kind of this same content distributed to, across different tools, I have one place where I can go and see, here's how it's going. Below the project timeline, I have a few different phases, and phases are just a way to break down a project into kind of more digestible chunks. You're able to have people assigned to a phase. And then below the phases, I have the work plan. And the work plan is made up of assignments. How many hours are people spending, and what are they working on in particular? So you can assign someone to a phase or a section of the project. The status here is giving me that estimate, or excuse me, not estimate, that look at how's the project going. And this is happening by monitoring this thin line, which represents today. By looking at that, I can see the real-time information around how many hours have we worked and how much time has been spent on the project. And that's based off of each one of these people's time entries. So as part of the time tracking system in 10,000 feet, people can submit their actuals, and that helps project managers or executives start to understand how long do things really take within a project. If we look at someone's timesheet, so I'm going to go to take a look at Nivi. She is on the team, and each person in 10,000 feet has their own personal page, and it's essentially a landing page or a dashboard about, what projects are they working on, what are some of the tasks that have been assigned to them, what do they need to be aware of so that they can keep their projects on budget. One of the key things about 10,000 feet around time tracking is I don't know, have you ever had a job where you had to track time?
Not recently, but I've heard of them.
Lucky you.
Nobody likes it. Everybody hates it. I think time tracking is people don't like to feel like someone's looking over their shoulder. They don't want it to feel like it's a big brother tool where, we're concerned about how many hours people are putting in, or they're, oh, I have to make up my hours because I was actually talking with my coworkers and going to the bathroom and getting my third cup of coffee, not doing work. And with 10,000 feet, we make that really simple because we pre-populate your timesheet with what you should be doing. So we're essentially helping the teams know these are the things that we've assigned you to do. This is your budget of hours. And if you work according to the plan, we make it really easy to track your time. So if I look at Nivi next week, I can actually forward to see her schedule for next week. And she can use this as a way to start to estimate how long should she be spending for each project in order to stay on budget. If she works according to the plan, go back to this week, all she has to do is click confirm. So we've really changed up the traditional process of time tracking by incentivizing people to work their hours according to the budget.
And I think, Steve, that the philosophy behind this is centered on trusting people, because basically we're saying we're removing the complicated. If you ever had to fill out timesheets, you have to remember how much, you have to break down your hours. So this is saying, hey, somebody, there's a plan that somebody put time in to figure out, and we're trusting you to say, yep, I work. We're assuming that people work what they're supposed to be working on, and so the default is we trust you that you're working on what you're supposed to be working. You can always say no, I ended up working more hours or less hour, and we make that also very easy. But the point of it is, in design, what you choose to default to is usually reflective of the philosophy driving a product.
Yeah.
So yeah, the easy thing, you can go in and change. You can report time for something else, choose another project, enter your hours for that project. You can click to change the number of hours that you've been given or assign the hours to a category. And the goal here is to say to people, we understand that you're responsible for your own calendar. We're going to help use your time tracker to communicate to you how much time should you be spending, and then you are responsible enough to move forward and do it on your own time or in your own way.
Yeah.
So looking back at the project that we just looked at, all of the work plans, all of these, they all come together in one place, and that's on the schedule. The interesting thing about this is that this is just one project. We're on budget here. We're actually a little bit over budget, about $1,900 over budget in terms of time. And I can look at the schedule to understand, well, what are all the other projects that this company has? So I click on the schedule. Okay, good. So on the left, I have my team members. I can see their different departments or disciplines. And essentially, this view is replacing these spreadsheets. Actually, one of the customers that I worked with, she described, I really like this, she described resourcing as a three-dimensional problem, not a two-dimensional problem. And the issue with using spreadsheets for kind of just resource planning is it's very static, it's never changing, multiple people can't make the updates. And with 10,000 feet, this is a dynamically shifting process. So you can drag to give people more time to work on something. That will change the project page. It will also update their personal page with that update. I can start to see availability, so I can see that I'm available 30 hours a week in August and that Daniela is available for 12 and a half hours. The goal is to staff everyone up to 100%, and 100% for each person can mean something different. So, for example, one person 100% of their time could be 50 hours a week. Another person, it could be Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Yeah. The tool knows how to kind of set that up in order to accommodate those changes. Any of these filters can be adjusted, so I could look for something like one department. I could look for a specific role. And the benefit here is that teams can start to see, well, if they need a team member with certain skills or, when can they start a new project, they can look to this view to understand holistically, when that might be possible. We find that there are two real kind of key company types that use 10,000 feet. Obviously, there are time-based service industries, creative consultancies, architecture firms, marketing agencies, all of those folks. Yep. And then there also are, and they need to be able to, track time and manage their capacity. And then there also are a great deal of teams that are focused on, maybe they're a department within a large organization. And their goal is to be able to really advocate their capacity to the larger team or to the larger organization. And the benefit of here is that you have a tool that actually can tell your boss or your manager or whoever that, you need another team member because everyone's at capacity and you're going to be all at capacity until September. So that's where we're seeing a lot of success. Canadian companies like BlackBerry, they have adopted the tool. Wow. Connexus is a big customer of ours. And then other internal teams at Unilever, GE, Samsung, they've adopted 10,000 feet to help them kind of advocate for themselves to the greater organization.
Got it. So it's where you deal with other members of the organization, like your clients, as opposed to I get that.
Essentially, your client would be like another department.
Yes. Yeah.
So, That's another key thing. And then the last part of 10,000 feet is really in analytics. So I know I want to be quick about this, but analytics help to aggregate all this data. And it's really the most powerful part of 10,000 feet because you have access to all of the data about your company. On the left here, these are just pivots. And the cool thing is that I can create custom reports based on changing these pivots with no data entry required. So I could go to look at, let's go the next 30 days. I could see how much work I have per client. And then I could say, let's layer in my disciplines. So each department, now how much time will each department be spending on each client for the next 30 days? I could flip this and look at the past. So I could say, let's look at, last month.
Yeah.
I could layer in financials, so I could do revenue forecasting. And the goal here is that this is all about transparency. So you're giving people on your team the information they need to make better decisions at whatever level they are. So for executives, they want this high-level roll-up of how's the company doing, what's the plan, where do we need to go. For team members,
if you take a look and you see that your junior people are 100% tapped and your senior managers are only working to 65% capacity, then you've got some adjusting to do.
Absolutely. Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, or come September, all of the work dies off and we need to be thinking about really upping our business development efforts. Mm-hmm. You would be able to see that within the tool. And then for team members, if you're a junior designer, you can understand what are the implications of the time that you spend on the project work. So you also have the ability to kind of make better decisions about your time because you know how it impacts everyone else on your team.
What about the security of it? Is this all cloud based? Is it a server? Is it a server install at your clients? How does it work as far as that goes?
So it's all a cloud-based service, and we have the same type of server security that you would at a bank.
It's obvious that the architecture firms and the engineering firms and the traditional hourly-based services are going to be the ones that are going to be your first buyers. But I think the way that you're looking at capacity as a thing as opposed to hours, it is going to create some real opportunity for you downstream and things like even in media production, film and television production. I could see, looking at how I used to do my TV show, a tool like this would have been outstanding.
And actually the one of, in the setup portions, you can switch to, it doesn't have to be hours. You can switch to days, for example. So, if you're more of like that type of organization.
Because that unit is changing. I mean, the hourly unit is there, but increasingly with the mobile workforce and stuff, people are becoming much more goal-oriented as opposed to time-oriented as far as,
Absolutely. In fact, in Artifact, when we launched it with Artifact initially, because Artifact, we don't use hours, we use days. Mm-hmm. And we look at capacity exactly. It's more goal based. So the hour came later because there's still
you have to have it. I mean,
right. You have to have that option.
Yeah.
But it's built in. It's definitely built into more the newer type of consulting and mobile workforce, and then added the details of hours later.
So back-end connections through to accounting systems and in HR systems and payroll systems. What sort of stuff do you have there? Just give me the 10,000-foot view. I don't want to know too many details.
So integration is paramount for us, and our first integration point was with like a direct link to QuickBooks. So we have any of the data in 10,000 feet can be exported to QuickBooks. That was just based on user need.
Yep.
We also have an export of all the data to CSV, so multiple systems can use that CSV export for payroll or any of the invoicing, that stuff.
Okay.
And we'll continue to build more, smarter integrations to different accounting tools.
Yeah, we're working on the API because after, the short answer is it's driven by our customers. So that's the stuff that we have direct link to, like QuickBooks, is based on customer need. And the next one that we can hit a lot of the other systems, like everything from the HR planning and
with the PeopleSoft and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, it's by doing an API. And so that's what we're working on, releasing very soon, actually.
And what about Salesforce? Anything for in that area?
Yeah, it's the same. It actually, we looked at, so we can build, but with the API, we can actually solve what our customers tell us is right now the preference is that we give them the API and they do the integration, because like Salesforce, everybody has like a very different install and it has so many different. So it sounds like it's better for them to control how they integrate, and we give them the tools to do that.
Okay. Great.
But Salesforce is a great example of Salesforce, Basecamp, Asana. Those are all tools we'd like to be able to integrate with.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Asana really is complementary. I mean, I can see everybody using it. You guys are so into that. Just the nature of the distributed workforce, that seems to be a part and parcel of, any companies that engage in this kind of a philosophical approach to their information probably have a fairly liberated approach towards their workforce as well. So I imagine they're a lot of remote work and stuff like that. And so tools like Asana just make tremendous sense.
Yeah, and we like them a lot.
Yeah.
we talked about
I do too. I think that they, I hope that they stay focused. That's my thing is, they.
Yeah, it's very easy. I would have to say, like, just we've been in market just a year, and it's good. It's easy for me to keep track because it's launched on my birthday. But I would say one of the big challenges is to keep focus. Like, immediately when you're in market, and if you're hearing and you're listening to your customers, there's like a million directions that you can go. These type of product very easily to get diluted with like tons of features. So it's a constant battle to really think, what is the value of this particular feature? Do we need it? What's the impact to the philosophy? You put it through a lot of filters before slapping it in, because before you know it, you can just end up with the everything in the kitchen sink.
Well, I think that you guys, are a complete web, from what I've seen on the surface, and forgive me for encapsulating your company when I've just looked at it for the short time, but it seems it's a very social media Web 2.0 based application. The fact that each of your employees has a page which is identifiable, they are part of the conversation, and their work and their actual assignments is more of a dialogue than an assignment. That seems to me to be just the nature of social media.
Yes, I would say. When you think about, I guess, like in the industry, they talk about enterprise 2.0 and sort of the philosophy, because what social media did. Okay, so let me say a couple of things. What social media did to enterprise tools is that at first everybody was like, oh, we can just have Yammer, or we can just talk virtually, and that was all very exciting. But the real change was that it flattened organizations. And when you start to give people a voice, and especially the new generations that are joining companies, they expect to be able to easily access the leadership or have their voice heard. So all that, I think there was a big change psychologically in organizations. But yet when it came to tools that helped us manage our day-to-day, that hasn't really translated. So project management, which is boring but super core to what pretty much everybody does everywhere, was an area where we felt that there was opportunity to infuse all this new philosophy about flattened organization, autonomy of people, and transparency, which are really the pillars of social media. So it's interesting that you interpret it as social media. And I think that's fair. I guess like we look at it from more like what does progressive workforce look like? What does the future look like? And what are the values attached to those the way that we want to work? I imagine you don't want to join an organization where there's like the micromanager, with the whip.
Well, that's and companies showcasing this kind of thing to potential employees. There was a study done here about a year and a half ago of what it takes to attract people into jobs these days, and of course salary is number one, but work philosophy and work style was number two. How much freedom they had, how much autonomy they had, the ability to work from home. How much they felt engaged in the process, and this kind of as you say open dialogue where people can see the overall project. Even the most junior person can see where they fit in the big picture. That's fairly empowering, I think, in today's competitive marketplace for getting good talent.
You know, a little detail that you just remind me. It's a minor detail, but this here's a dashboard exactly for that. That gives you like where people are. So it's super easy in your own page here. Because we're now Charlie.
Hey, Charlie.
Yeah. He can update his status. He's on the road.
Oh, good.
Say like, hey, I'm working from home and I'm working on, whatever, my process mapping, and yay, I got this done in post.
Wow.
And
Very
so it's a tiny thing, but a lot of people like this, particularly because they have teams that are traveling a lot or moving around, and so it just gives you like a quick view of like who's where and what are they doing.
There you go, a quick overview of 10,000 feet. Certainly it's a sort of an application we could spend hours looking at. One final note for you is the pricing structure for 10,000 feet. Everybody's always wondering about pricing. Not that expensive, actually. Up to 10 people, it's $49 a month, and then it goes up from there. There is, of course, as is with all trustworthy apps, I guess, a free 30-day trial for you to give it a shot, see if you like it. I hope you found this video to be useful. Remember, you can listen to our podcast each week. You can subscribe on iTunes. Just search for Dotto Tech Radio. I am Steve Dotto. Thanks for spending this time with us today.